On today's show, I'm looking at 10 non-tenured free agents that could be perfect fits on the Rangers, including a multi-time All-Star who may just be the way for the Rangers to fix this pin. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into the 10 non-tenured free agents that could be fits for the Rangers, including a multi-time All-Star, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, let's just go ahead and get right into it. The number one, the first guy on this list, a multi-time All-Star, Jordan Romano, the longtime closer for the Toronto Blue Jays, coming off of a really rough season in Toronto. The Canadian native heading into his age 32 season, coming off what is basically the worst year of his MLB career. Well, maybe not quite the worst, but definitely the most disappointing. And he actually was in the Rangers system for a hot minute. Not that hot of a minute. The Rangers took him in the Rule 5 draft in 2018. Didn't end up making his big league debut till 2019. And then from 2020 to 2023, this guy was one of the best relievers in all of baseball. He was an all-star in 2022 and in 2023, had 36 saves in both of those seasons. And for his major league career in 6 seasons, a 2.90 ERA with 105 saves, 229 innings pitched. He has been just straight up lights out. But last year, the light went out for him. It was just a really rough season, a 6.5 ERA in 15 games, and injuries really played a big part of this. He hit the IL twice with right elbow issues. He also underwent arthroscopic surgery for a right elbow impingement. He was projected to make around $7.75 million in arbitration in what would, I believe, be his final season of arbitration before he just straight up hit the free agent market after the 2025 season. But the Blue Jays said $7.75 million is just a bit out of our price range for what you were this past season. And what he was this past season was just not good. But the velocity was still there. The thing that really broke him this season, he was not getting any swing and miss with his fastball. I mean, it was just a 6-ish% whiff rate on his fastball, where in seasons prior, it had been around 30. So not getting any swing and miss with the fastball, having to go more slider heavy. The slider was still pretty good, but he was really working through it last year. It was getting hit hard, was still not walking guys, but was just getting absolutely lit up, not getting the chase, not getting the swing and miss that he'd been accustomed to in his career. Still a lot of promise there. I think just the price tag was what made the Blue Jays say, I don't know if we're going to go ahead and do that. They are owned by a company as opposed to just one individual owner, so they tend to be a little bit more prudent, a little bit less emotional with their spending, the way an owner and one individual might be, and them saying, more down to brass tacks. And that's kind of what this decision was. I mean, Romano was beloved by Blue Jays fans, a Canadian to his core, dominating for the Blue Jays, a multi-time All-Star, not even that far removed from it. And that's why I think this could be the best fit for the Rangers of these non-tenured free agents. There's quite a few of them on the market. I think Romano was the one that surprised me the most because he had been the best most recently. Actually, there's one guy that had been a little bit better more recently and more consistent recently. Spoiler alert, most of these guys are going to be in the bullpen because that's where the Rangers' greatest need is. I talked about it on yesterday's show, but Josh Sborz going down with shoulder surgery, where he is going to miss the first couple, if not first 3 months of the 2025 season. The Rangers have free agents as their three biggest parts of their back end high leverage relief roles of Kirby Yates, David Robertson, and Jose Leclerc. So the Rangers need a lot of relievers. Now, I think some of them are going to come from internal candidates. Obviously, hoping that Josh Sborz, once he comes back from shoulder surgery rehab, he can go back to being the October 2023 Josh Sborz that we all knew and loved. But if you're looking for a guy to buy low on, I don't think he's going to cost more than, I don't know, maybe $5 million a year with Romano. The Rangers might end up doing a similar kind of deal that they did with Kirby Yates, although Yates had multiple seasons of being far removed from his peak, whereas Romano is really just one season removed from his peak. I'm not exactly sure when he's going to be healthy for opening day with that right elbow impingement surgery, but I'm pretty sure that he will be at least healthy for the vast majority of the season. This is a great buy low candidate. I don't think the Rangers would be by any means the only team that would be all in on signing a guy like Romano. Because, I mean, even last year, even though the swing and miss wasn't there with the fastball, the velocity of the stuff was still very nasty. And so this could be one of the more intriguing relief free agents on the market. I think Yates is also going to be an absolutely fascinating test case. I think Tanner Scott is also going to be a fascinating reliever. Scott's probably the top guy on this market in terms of relievers. But I wouldn't be surprised if I think Robertson's might be my number 2 guy in this market, and then Kirby Yates. But Romano is going to be way up there because of the long track record of success and just one season of falling off. And I know I did say that the Rangers did have him as the Rule 5 pick in 2018. That was a bit of an aggressive pick since he hadn't even been to Double-A really yet before the 2018 season. But still, it feels like Rangers were in on that, but just like a couple years too early, because 2019 is when he made his big league debut. 2020 was when he really burst onto the scene and had a sub 1.5 ERA in 15 games in that COVID shortened season. It had just been nails to that point up until this season. So I think that this would be a home run pick for the Rangers if the Rangers could somehow score a deal with Jordan Romano. Might take a 1-and-1 kind of a deal, give a player option for buy low, let him have a little bit of stability. That might be a move that makes sense for Texas. But Jordan Romano is a fascinating free agent, and I think the Rangers should definitely look very heavily into him because, I mean, heading into his age 32 season, there's still, I think, plenty of good seasons left for Jordan Romano, and this could be a great opportunity for the Rangers to do something similar that they did with their bullpen this past offseason and go get somebody who nobody else believes it and realize, yeah, no, we could definitely make the most of this guy and get him back to his peak form. Coming up, we'll look at another reliever, an all-star this year, who was non-tenured by a non-contending team that really made me turn my head. And it all could just be about the money. Talk about that right after this. This show is brought to you by Ibotta. Love the holidays but hate grocery shopping? Ibotta is making your Thanksgiving easier with cash back on everything you need to make the perfect holiday meal, so you can get the turkey and your favorite sides for free. This month, Ibata is giving new users 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. Just add the offers in the app to redeem everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you have to do is shop at your favorite retailers and upload your receipt. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you get everything you need for the holidays. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. So download the Ibotta app now and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast starting November 1st. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. The show is also brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the best place to get tickets for all the live events you're looking to go to. Whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's comedy, theater, no matter what it is, Gametime is the best place to get those tickets. And Gametime Picks is a new feature that filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of ticket sites. They've got all kinds of great features like Gametime Picks, like I just said. They've got all-in pricing, and you toggle this feature, shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. They've also got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. Now, let's look at the number 2 free agent on this list, non-tenured by the Nationals, the All-Star from 2024, Kyle Finnegan. Now, why was this guy non-tendered? He was healthy all season. He'd been healthy. He'd been very, very consistent for the Washington Nationals, really since he came up to the big leagues. Never had an ERA north of 4. I mean, a 3.56 ERA in 5 seasons, 156 games finished, 88 saves, 290 innings, around a strikeout per inning, and an ERA plus every single season of his big league career, 110 or better. So he's been at least 10% better than league average every single season of his career, and made the All-Star team for the first time this year. Why was he non-tenured? Well, the Nationals aren't spending a whole bunch of money, and $8.6 million for a guy who maybe they could get the aggregate somewhere else. He's only had about a 1 WAR season pretty much every year of his big league tenure, exactly 1.0 baseball reference for each of the past 3 seasons. And 8.6, as much as I like Finnegan, I don't think that it's going to cost $8.6 million to get Kyle Finnegan, the Texas native, the Texas State alum, drafted initially by the Oakland A's and then made his way to Washington, where he has been for his entirety of his major league career. A nice buy low candidate, maybe a 2, maybe 3-year deal. I don't really see Finnegan getting a 3-year deal if the Nationals are going to go ahead and non-tender him in a season where I really think they're going to try and be competitive. Maybe not, push with the Braves and the Mets and the Phillies to win their division, but I think they're definitely going to be pushing towards 500. They've got a bunch of young pieces. I think this should be an offseason where they're spending money. I would be concerned if I was a Nats fan that they aren't spending money on their closer who literally just had an all-star season, but I digress. More opportunities for the Rangers. Next guy on this list is maybe the most interesting or the worst or maybe the best fit, depending on what you're looking at. This is Patrick Sandoval, the number 3 guy on this list. He's going to be 28 years old. He has been with the Angels the entirety of his career. And, not that long ago, 2022, his age 25 season, had a really, really solid year, a 3.3 WAR season, only 148 2/3 innings that year, exactly 4 innings less the year after that. And then this year, only 79 2/3 innings, 16 starts, and a 5 ERA. You may be saying, what the heck are you thinking? You may be even more saying, what the heck are you thinking, when I tell you that he had Tommy John surgery in July. He's expected to miss all of 2025. He was projected to make $5.9 million in arbitration, but I think there's definitely something in there. A young left-handed starter who has shown real upside and has been mired by the Angels' pitching development. I mean, somehow they have lucked their way into so many guys with a lot of upside and squandered a lot of that. There's another guy on this list, another starting pitcher, formerly with the Angels, that you listen to Locked On Angels, they will tell you how frustrated they are with Angels pitching development. I think there is a lot of developmental meat on the bones there for this guy. Would the Rangers sign him for the 2025 season? You'd have to sign him to a 2-year deal, let him rehab here, be a real buy low candidate. There is a chance that the Angels want him back and they want to just restructure things, because paying $6 million for a guy who's not going to pitch all season, not the wisest financial move, but I know that the Angels like him. They have, a lot of belief in his upside, but I think this is a really, really interesting guy to take a flyer on. Again, it wouldn't really help the Rangers this year, and maybe this doesn't make any financial sense with the Rangers looking to get under that luxury tax this year. But the Rangers did something similar with a free agent that was not non-tenured, Tyler Mahle, a guy who didn't pitch much this year, literally only 3 starts and 12 innings? Was it even 12 innings this year that he gave the Rangers? It was mostly about 2025, which if the Rangers did a deal like that with Patrick Sandoval, I don't think it would cost nearly as much as Mahle did, because Mahle showed a lot more upside than Sandoval did. But just someone interesting, I think the Rangers might end up taking a flyer on. Another guy similarly crippled by Angels pitching development is Griffin Canning. He was non-tendered by the Atlanta Braves, who was acquired in that trade for Jorge Soler, and then was immediately non-tendered by Atlanta, not non-tenured. There's a lot of reason for belief in Griffin Canning. He's got a really, really good changeup. And one thing that the Rangers have done really, really well in their pitching development, one, I think the big reasons why they had so much success in their minor league pitching development this year is they figured out how to teach players how to fix their slider, how to have a straight up good slider. That is a legitimately good thing the Rangers have done with their pitching development, and proven, not just by me, but people outside the organization who've seen that, see the development of guys like Winston Santos, see the steps forward from Mitch Bratt, see the steps forward from Cole Drake. Those guys figured out how to throw a really nasty slider. And I think if the Rangers could get a hold of Griffin Canning, he's already got a really, really good changeup. His fastball, I think, would play better with another good secondary pitch, which could be the slider. He was projected to make $5.1 million in arbitration this year. The Braves basically just acquired him to help the Angels kind of salary dump. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot else there. Jorge Soler didn't really fit on the Braves this year, so that's kind of why they made that trade. That's why the Angels made that trade. But I think that's someone who's really interesting, and if the Rangers are looking for some depth options, I mean, now that they have Dane Dunning and signing that deal about as much of a pay cut as you can take, as is legally allowed for him to take by the MLBPA. I think that just having some more depth options there, should the Rangers have some kind of injuries to their starting pitchers, which again, when you have a bunch of older starting pitchers and guys with injury concerns like DeGrom, like Mahle, like John Gray, heck, even like Kumar Rocker, having more depth literally cannot hurt you, depending on what kind of a deal it might be. With Canning, I don't know if it would be a major league deal. I mean, he's coming off of a really rough season. He was healthy. He made 31 starts, 32 appearances, over 170 innings. He had an ERA north of 5 and had the most earned runs allowed in the American League with 99. He posts, and he had a 2-WAR season back in 2023. Only 127 innings, was a little bit better than league average with that ERA plus at 103. There's something there. And, a lot of these guys, a lot of it just comes down to the money. If you buy low, if the Rangers have shown a decent aptitude for taking guys, maybe rehabbing them a little bit, guys who were former top prospects, and then kind of figuring something out that was wrong with them and tweaking them into pretty darn good pitchers. That was the one thing they did really, really well from about 2019 to 2020 during those rebuild years, taking guys like Mike Minor, like Lance Lynn, guys like that, and Kyle Gibson as well, and turning them into all-stars. I'm not saying that them signing Griffin Canning would make him an all-star in 2025. I don't think that. But I think the Rangers could make use of a guy like that, buying low and seeing what's left there, that the Angels, who were not very good at developing starting pitchers, maybe they missed something, and the Rangers could figure that out. But taking a guy from the maybe not the least smart pitching organization, looking at a guy from the smartest pitching development organization, Colin Poche. He is a left-handed reliever, formerly with the Tampa Bay Rays. Missed a little bit of time this year with some mid-back tightness. He missed a month there, had some left shoulder inflammation, cost him a couple of weeks. He was projected to make around $3.4 million in arbitration. And not that long ago, he was a really, really solid reliever with Tampa Bay. A 2.23 ERA in 60 innings for the Rays in 2023. Had an ERA just south of 4 in 2022. He's a lefty reliever that doesn't rely a whole lot on velocity. He wasn't, throwing particularly hard last year either. But again, a lefty buy low kind of guy. He was projected to make 3.4 mil. That's way too expensive for a reliever for the Rays, who can literally pull out elite relievers out of their booty, turn guys who you've never heard of into some of the nastiest pitchers in baseball. And so I'm not surprised that Poche did get non-tenured after a 3.86 ERA season and a little under 40 innings this year. I think the Rangers could see something there. Again, a lot of these are just take a flyer kind of guys, buy low. Maybe there's a chance that one of them hits. Not all of them would, but I think that with how many bullpen spots the Rangers have open, what the heck do they have to lose by swinging so far for the fences for definitely not all of these guys, but at least a few of them. Coming up, we're going to look at a couple more relief options, including a couple of guys who have already been members of the Texas Rangers, or at least in their farm system. Talking about that right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. It's going to be Thanksgiving. There's going to be a whole bunch of football there. The Cowboys are going to be playing the Giants. If you're thinking, okay, well, maybe the Cowboys will ride that momentum off of their win on Sunday and maybe beat down those Giants who just switched quarterbacks literally last week. You go check out all the odds on FanDuel. Just go to FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now we got a few more guys on this list, most of the big names, most of the ones that I am most intrigued by. I'm kind of going from most intriguing to least intriguing. So there's a little bit less to say on the rest of these guys. So we're going to breeze right through them. Number 6 on this list is Elden De Los Santos, a former Chicago White Sox coming off of not the strongest season. There's still a lot of really good stuff in there from him. He's got a pretty darn good fastball and a pretty darn good slider. Definitely still has some velocity in there. And in a couple of seasons with Cleveland, he was very, very effective. Last year with the Chicago White Sox, not quite as effective. The fastball was getting absolutely lit up. The changeup was lit up a bit as well. But there's still a very nasty slider, very nasty four-seamer in there. The changeup, I think, can be plenty average, and you're looking at a guy with some upside. I mean, he's gonna be heading into his age, I believe 29 season. He is 28 right now. I mean, last year, even with a high ERA, still had really, really good strikeout numbers of 5.20 ERA. And I think a lot of that might be just pitch selection, pitch calling from the White Sox. Not exactly the best developmental organization, not exactly a positive, happy working environment, being a part of the worst team that I have ever seen in my baseballing life, maybe worst team I will ever see. Actually, who knows? The 2025 White Sox might be even worse. He was projected to make $1.7 million in arbitration. And I cannot for the life of me understand why a team as bad as the White Sox would see that and think, you know what? 1.7 mil, that's way too much for us for a guy who's got plenty of upside. Has been really darn good as recently as 2023 and also 2022. I just think that getting away from that kind of an organization, not that the Rangers are going to figure out as much of how to use him perfectly like the Guardians seem to do, but I definitely think there's something there. And, again, he's still young, still got velocity, still got nasty stuff. I think he definitely could fit in this pen. Another guy young with nasty stuff who has had some health issues, Luis Patino, the number 7 guy on this list, a formerly very, very highly touted prospect. He was coming up through the San Diego Padres system, was a part of the Blake Snell trade. That is kind of about how long it's been since he has had a lot of hope on him. He has mostly been a starting pitcher in his career. Injuries have been the thing for him. Just a very, very derailing, very, very promising career. Very much a buy low candidate. I think that it would probably be a minor league deal with a big league camp invite to get Luis Patino, but there's still some stuff in there, and I think the Rangers might end up making the most of it. Definitely, I think maybe the biggest reach of all the guys on this list, but keep listening. There might be one that's even more of one. Tim Mayza, number 8 on this list, the left-handed pitcher, a reliever who has been mostly with the Blue Jays, but eventually was traded to the New York Yankees coming off of a really rough season. But for the most part, it's been a fairly effective reliever, has had several really, really darn good seasons as recently as 2023. That was the best season of his career, was 2023. And this year, probably the worst season of his career. He was relieved and then by the Blue Jays and then picked up by the Yankees, had an ERA north of 8 in his short time with the Blue Jays this year, right around 25 innings with the Blue Jays, and then got picked up by the New York and had an ERA half that. So a 4 ERA in 18 innings. It was solid, but has been murderous, absolutely murderous on left-handed bats. Just very, very difficult to square him up. He's been consistent for the most part in his career, 7 years in the big leagues, all of those with Toronto until this season when he got picked up by New York. A 3.88 ERA in his career, more than a strikeout per 9 innings, 3 walks per 9. Not bad for a lefty reliever. Again, a buy low candidate. He's going to be heading into his age 33 season. Not a guy who relies a whole lot on velocity, a sinker slider kind of a guy, and a guy who the Rangers could really, really use. I mean, a guy who is absolutely destroying left-handed bats. You can always use more of those guys. I don't think it's going to cost a whole lot. He was projected to make $4 million in arbitration this year, and the Yankees said, we'll take that $4 million and we're going to throw $4 million more at Juan Soto. So financially, I think that might be a smart move for them. And it might be a smart move for the Rangers to go kick the tires, see what it would take to sign Tim Mayza. Next guy on this list, the last two are former Rangers. Not the longest storied or most fascinating careers with the Rangers, but still former Rangers nonetheless. This guy, number 9 on this list, is a former Rangers first-round pick, a relief pitcher, formerly of the Baltimore Orioles, also spent a hot minute with the Toronto Blue Jays. By hot minute, I mean 4 games and 3 1/3 innings pitched. That came this year. But this is none other than Dylan Tate, the Rangers' 2015 first-round pick, a guy whose career with Texas lasted a whole year and a month before they ended up trading him to New York for, half a season of supposedly elite playoff bat Carlos Beltran. And heck, Dylan Tate wasn't even the most effective reliever in that trade package. That was Eric Swanson, and they was also included with Nick Green. He was the Rangers' first-round pick in 2015, a year after the Rangers had that just horrendous, out-of-nowhere, everything went to poo-poo 2014 season. They were the worst team in baseball for all of 2014 until the final month of the season when Ron Washington resigned. And then Tim Bogart took over for a month, and the Rangers had a winning record for absolutely no reason in 2015. And the reason I bring that up, just remembering some of the names in that draft: Dansby Swanson, first overall. Second overall, Alex Bregman, who the Rangers would have taken had they been a little higher up. You also have Brandon Rogers, who actually was also non-tendered by the Rockies. A little surprising move for me. A decent second baseman, has been in the big leagues for the past several seasons, including having a, believe, 3 or 4 win season by elite defense at second base. And also, there you go, number 4 pick, Dylan Tate, and the number 5 pick in that draft, Kyle Tucker. So the Astros got Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker in that first round of 2015, and the Rangers got Dylan Tate and ended up being half a season of mediocre Carlos Beltran. Maybe just a way for me to assuage my frustration and wanting to bang my head through a wall every time I look at that 2015 draft, or even honestly see the name Dylan Tate. No fault of his. He's actually been a pretty solid reliever for the most part, had some really solid seasons in Baltimore this year, and the last couple of years, injuries have really, really derailed his career. Had a ERA north of 4 this year, a 4.6 ERA, around 4.5 with Baltimore in 29 games. Missed all of 2023, coming back from arm issues, trying to rehab, and then things just like were not working out. But in 2022, had a 3.05 ERA, a 1.2 WAR season, and 73 and 2/3 innings. He's not been a huge strikeouts guy. In Baltimore, in those 4 games, he had 10.8 Ks per nine, but for his career, just 7.1. A real buy low candidate. I feel like I'm really, grasping at straws here. I started out with 6 candidates and then ended up with 7, then said, heck, let's go to 10, and then realized there were maybe not 10 that worked out there. Still, there is some velocity left there in Dylan Tate. Maybe a Dylan Tate Texas Rangers redemption arc, but probably not. Another redemption arc I am trying very hard to make. This one I think could make some sense. A bat with a lot of pop in it, former Ranger great. That's right. Number 10 name on this list is Patrick Wisdom, the former third baseman / first baseman / outfielder. Spent all of, maybe not all of, at least a decent chunk of 2019 with the Texas Rangers, 9 games there, 0 home runs, a 377 OPS. And then since 2020, he has been with the Chicago Cubs, and at points, he has been flat out really darn good. His rookie, I say in quotes, rookie season, when he lost rookie eligibility, finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting back in 2021 as a 29-year-old, 28 bombs in 106 games. This guy does one thing very, very well nowadays, and it is hit the absolute crap out of the baseball, which the Rangers could use a little bit more pop. That year, he had 28 home runs, a career high. The next year, in 2022, he had 25 home runs in 134 games. In 2023, he had 23 home runs in 97 games. This past year, only 8 home runs in 75 games. He is still hitting the ball hard. The underlying data is still very good. He's a guy who doesn't chase a whole lot, doesn't walk a whole lot, but doesn't chase a whole lot. Does have some issues with strikeouts. The batting average for his career of 209, not exactly ideal, but a 750 OPS for his career, 88 home runs in 455 games. He's been fine. The Rangers wanted to take a swing on a guy, see if they can make a few tweaks to his swing to get more out of that pop. Again, I don't think that this would take a major league deal to get Patrick Wisdom, maybe a minor league deal with a major league camp invite, with some kind of opt-outs there if someone sees something in him and wants to take a chance. I think it'd be more likely that a non-contending team takes a chance on a 33-year-old, not great defender with a lot of pop. There's still pop there. So if the Rangers are wanting to take a swing and maybe try and get whatever they got out of Patrick Wisdom, what they were hoping to get out of Patrick Wisdom back when they traded for him, trading Drew Robinson to the St. Louis Cardinals for him back in December of 2018. The tenure in Texas did not work out the first time. Maybe round 2, there's a marriage there. I am not entirely sure that is going to be the case, but I do know a lot of these options are guys who I did not think were going to be on the free agent market. I mean, guys like Jordan Romano, Kyle Finnegan, I think those could be absolutely fantastic buy low candidates for Texas, who needs to do a lot to shore up that pen. And every single name on there, adding more free agents to this list, gives the Rangers some more options, some more flexibility, because there's going to need to be a whole lot of free agent relief signings, if not having a lot of help from relievers that are rookies in the Rangers system. I like a Jordan Romano helping out a little bit more than most rookies in this Rangers system, but still taking more bites at the apple, it couldn't really hurt all that much. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.